Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another DCU Daily. It's not just going to be me today. Dan had some technical problems, so he's going to come in a little bit later. But for now, hello, I'm John. Nice to see you guys again. Or if you're here for the first time, I'm John. Nice to meet you. Anyway, so we're going to be getting into a whole bunch of different news stories today. We have Snow White, why that's tanking. We have the new Andor season 2 trailer. We got some Spider-Man stuff. We got a lot of quick hits for you. And then we're going to be getting into, DCU Daily with, more Lobo news because it's a nonstop train for Lobo and Jason Momoa and, Sinestro. And then, of course, the big story of Supergirl set picks. Not a lot, but a little bit. And hopefully that's enough to satisfy y'all. But before I dilly-dally a little bit too much, why don't we get Ryan Gosling to, get in there and give us a nice warm introduction to the news.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that.
You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see coins.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now?
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Well, welcome to the news. I'm John. Hello. How are you again? Let me throw up that. There you go. Just a little quick reminder. First things first, we have a little bit of snafu in the wonderful world of Disney. Apparently, Snow White has opened to $43 million domestically, and to the shock of no one, considering the controversies in regards to both leading co-stars and it's no shock that this $270 million movie has gotten a rather not great opening. It seems as though people are getting kind of sick of the live action remakes, or even parents are becoming like a little like, maybe even I don't want to show this to my kids. I'm just going to watch the original. But I think the controversy finally got to this movie, and it looks like a lot of people are either going to lose jobs or never work with again, or just kind of punching the air at this point. It's not shocking. I have been very open about my disdain towards these live action remakes. Yes, some of them are pretty good, mainly the Jungle Book movies and Cinderella and bits and pieces of certain other movies like Beauty and the Beast and 101 Dalmatians and that kind of thing. But it's still not these live action remakes. The problem with them is that they I apologize for that. The problem with them is that they're not like, oh, let's do this differently, or let's do it in an intriguing way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it that way. The way it just seems, it's like, let's fix our old animated movies because they were made at such a, troublesome time. So now it just comes off as weird and spiteful. And I feel kind of bad because the director, Mark Webb, he has done good work in the past. The first Amazing Spider-Man movie, I will clarify, is one of the better ones. And Gifted was actually a pretty good movie as well. So I feel a little bit bad for him, but considering how controversial Rachel Zegler has become as this character and as an actress, it feels like, I feel like especially after this, nobody's going to want to touch her with a 10.5-foot pole. So Yeah, that's not totally shocking. But yeah, it looks like Captain America crossed 400 million worldwide. Not great. Um but considering less than 100 million worldwide, yeah, not even China's like, yeah, we don't like this shit, and we like anything. We fucking liked Age of Extinction, so we like the Fast and Furious movies, and even they're like, no. uh but yeah, and I mean, do we really need to theorize, how good or bad this has become? Hello Manos, by the way. Hello, Man of Steel Magnolias. Um, hang on a second. So yeah, I don't think there's a ton to say about this. Dan, do you have any thoughts about this?
I was just gonna say, if you go scroll down on this article a little bit, there's something worth discussing. So now here's the thing. This movie, by the way, hello everybody. This movie is the highest grossing movie at this past weekend's box office. It's the second biggest opening of the year, but it is pretty middle of the row when it comes to overall Disney live action remakes. So if you scroll up a little bit to the paragraph right there, Disney. So here's the thing. You guys remember Mufasa the Lion King opened during Christmas, and it opened to like $35.4 million, and then it went on to eventually make like $700 million worldwide. So opening weekend worldwide box office compared to what it did overall, it like 7x, right? So that's something that a Disney movie
it won't let me
do.
highlight. I don't know why.
You don't have to highlight it. I can. It's just, it's right there at the top.
Right here.
So there is some people are like, maybe this can do that, but I think here's a problem with that logic. That movie came out in Christmas time. We know movies in Christmas time have the ability to literally go and make all kinds of money, like and not necessarily open to the large, a huge box office. Aquaman, for example, didn't open to like over $100 million. Avatar, both Avatar movies haven't opened to more than $100 million. They've all crossed $1 billion. Avatar, both of them crossed $2 billion. Mufasa is the latest example of a movie that comes out around Christmas time, doesn't necessarily get the biggest opening, but then goes on to do really well. The other problem, so basically, I point that out because I don't think Snow White has that advantage, because it's not, if you haven't checked, it's not Christmas time, guys. So the
Easter
other
time.
problem is, it is, yes, it's almost Easter time. The other problem is this movie, its cinema score, meaning the people walking out of movie theaters being interviewed, the cinema score sits at a B+.
Also, where the fuck are these guys getting cinema scores from? I don't get interviewed when I come out of a movie.
They have I don't know, like they go to specific markets, maybe. I don't know.
I feel like cinema score, they just like slap on and grade, because it's like that's what I think of when I watch Family Feud. It's like, who are these 100 people across good old America that they're interviewing?
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, I don't know if you've talked about this already. If you open up Rotten Tomatoes, I'm gonna see if I can find it on my computer. But if you open up Rotten Tomatoes and go to Snow White, so here's the thing: the B+ cinema score is much lower than most other movies that have come out, with the Disney live action remakes. And then when you look at overall the audience score for this movie, it's sitting at like somewhere in the 70s. So even though the critic score we talked about is like, it's not very high. It's 43%. I just checked. The audience score is like, wow, like the audience score is now 74%. Some people might say is not terribly bad. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up right now. Like right there, 74% audience score. It's not bad, but it's also not great, because, and then when you look at it, 74% B+, you put it on a scale, it kind of matches up. So the reason why this movie will probably still flop, even though it's the biggest opening week movie at the opening weekend, it made more money than any other movie this past weekend combined. Like, that's how bad it was.
Well, yeah,
and
that's pretty.
Because like Alto Nights made
Alto Night. Nobody gives a fuck about Alto Nights except your dad.
Even though Alto Night slightly beat its expectation, because remember the high end was 3 million. I think it came in a little over 3 million. So Alto Nights did.
I mean, my theater was packed, so like there was that.
Yeah. But then Magazine Dreams sucked. Well, the movie itself has got a 80, somewhere in the 80s, Rotten Tomato score, but nobody went to see it. Like it made like less than $1 million at the opening weekend. So look, here's the thing: Snow White had the runway to do a lot of business here, but I think it's just a lot of the controversy around the actors, both of the leads, the fact that I mean, everybody keeps saying Gal Gadot's performance wasn't the greatest, even though Rachel Zegler did a good job.
Yeah,
It just
I've heard good
feels
things
like
about
there's a
Zegler.
lot of things going against this movie, like from the bad the reviews or mixed reviews to bad reviews. 43%, it's rotten. You look at it right there, 201 reviews. It's pretty much decided where this movie sits with the critics. And then yeah, I don't think this movie will have that resurgence that Mufasa did. I mean, look,
No.
power to it if it does, great. But like Captain America 4, for example, like was sitting at, I think it crossed $400 million at the worldwide box office finally, and as it's about to come out of theaters. And and then Alto Nights, like there were 5 movies above Alto Nights. Alto Night debuted at 6 out of 10, like in the top 10. So just not an overall good weekend at the box office, and Snow White, leading the way with disappointment, because the biggest problem they had with this movie is they spent like 270 making it, 270 million, and then another 100 million marketing it. Dumbo, which you were comparing it to last week, Dumbo opened up to a similar opening weekend of like somewhere in the 40s. I think this opened to like just around 44. Dumbo opened to like 46 or something like that. But Dumbo was made for $100 million less. I remember back when Dumbo came out, it was like, oh my God, this is one of the lowest grossing movies in the history of live action remakes for Disney. Snow White now probably takes the crown, especially when you look at, I think when you compare to the amount of money they spend making it versus what it's making at the box office, it needs over 500 million to just break even. I don't think it's gonna get there, John. I don't know what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's just like, even though one of the articles had like people not really caring about like the political stature of it, I think it just comes down to the fact that like they didn't really market this that much. I didn't really see a lot of marketing. Um, I didn't, I think Gal Gadot, people are just kind of sick of her. She's like just in like the most she does is like mediocre action movies with The Rock. And then and outside of that, nobody really cares about her. So I think there is that aspect of only you know, uh like there's like a whole different, like, no marketing. Pretty much I feel like Rachel Zegler has just become box office poison at this point, because every movie that she's been in that hasn't been that new Hunger Games movie, the newest Hunger Games movie, has bombed. Like everything she's been in has bombed. So I think
Yeah,
it's
but
just like people are
I
getting kind
don't.
of. It's just like, I'm
Here's
not
what I'll
saying
say
like
though.
people hate her. I'm just saying it's a correlation. And I think people are starting to
Yeah,
get sick of these at this point. Yeah, Mufasa made a good amount of money, but this I think might make a decent chunk of change, but it won't make a profit. Like I could see this maybe making like 400 to 450 million dollars, maybe, but that's not that doesn't even double its budget. So I think the
it
reshoots,
needs at least 500 to break even.
yeah.
I don't think it gets
So
there.
no.
But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now. So there you go. By the way, guys, I think I need to hop out and hop back in because my computer's still being weird. But John, take it away. We got Andor's trailer reaction coming up next. I will be
Yeah.
right back. But in the meantime, enjoy the show.
Yeah. Great. See you later, Dan. Yeah, so the guy who doesn't watch Star Wars anymore now has to do the Star Wars story, while the guy who actually still watches this shit has to leave. Great. So yeah, Andor, cool, I guess. I don't really know what to say. I didn't watch the trailer. I didn't really care. I'm sorry. No offense to people who still watch Star Wars, but oh, there's hi ho to the stream is where you go. Do you think this flop might impact other movies? There's the How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch coming out. Maybe, but I've seen How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. Um, you know, they've been marketed a lot better. So that could be a factor. Like they're doing a lot more with Lilo and Stitch, and a bit of How to Train Your Dragon. So that could mean something. Like it just could be the lack of marketing, or people don't want to see Snow White. So, and maybe the fact that they are more recent movies will get people into watching them because, fucking Snow White's over 80 years old at this point. So maybe it's just like, it's older. We're not really going to watch it, even if it's for a modern audience. They'll just be like, don't really want to see it. But like Lilo and Stitch, you have a lot of millennial parents being like, oh, I remember watching Lilo and Stitch, or oh, I remember watching How to Train Your Dragon. And then they go see I'm going to take my kids to see this. So that might help matters either, while Snow White is just simply too old. So it's a dumb argument, yes, but I'm just trying to think in like logistically from, the what like general moviegoers are thinking. So there's that as well. So yeah, so Andor, going to the current thing. So it seems like Andor, we're getting a little bit more with, Luna's character. Obviously, I mean, his name is in the fucking title of the show. But it seems like, they like it's just like a typical kind of, oh my god, things are growing, stakes are going higher, kind of the typical shit of like, we're in a war, you want to fight or you want to win kind of thing. So it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people are really into this. This is as somebody said, it's a bright spot in the Star Wars franchise. It's pretty much, for most people, it's like this is the only good thing that they have right now. And considering Tony Gilroy probably isn't going to come back for a season 3 if it gets greenlit for one, or if it's just going to end here, who knows? So yeah. But it's definitely, I don't think it's. I mean, it could possibly, if Tony Gilroy wants to do as many seasons, it could. They could have 5 seasons of this, and the beginning of, the end of this show leads into the beginning of Rogue One, which, well, not the beginning because that was a flashback, but you know what I mean, like the current day events of Rogue One. So it's entirely possible, and it's definitely, thrilling for people that still watch Star Wars. And I know that a lot of people that even hate Star Wars like this show. Like this is the show that could, because nobody really, I mean, a lot of fan hype is dwindling, and even people that don't like it are like, hey, it's a pretty good show. It's a pretty good. It's kind of like what The Mandalorian was for the first 2 seasons, and then like lost all the people with season 3. So this is pretty much like the show to watch, even if you don't like Star Wars anymore. So yeah. Hey, guy who actually watches Star Wars, what do you think?
Oh, me, yes. By the way, I think I fixed my internet connection. Am I coming in?
That's
clear?
good.
Am I coming in?
You're coming in okay. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
You're not laggy or anything like that. You're good.
All right, cool. So here's the thing. This trailer is more of a story trailer, whereas the one before this was like that teaser trailer where we got more of a feeling for what this show is gonna bring us in the new season. Whereas this one feels like, yeah, I mean, this is okay. Shit's about to get real. We cannot let the Empire succeed. We cannot let them win. And you really get a sense of the danger and the urgency. And then also Diego Luna's character, I think, is starting to become more of the character, more of the Andor, the Cassian Andor that we meet in Rogue One, which is obviously where this is headed. What I also like about this show, with the season 2, they're going to have 3 episodes a week. You're going to get 4 weeks, 3 episodes each week. I remember watching just 1 episode of this a week and being like, oh my God, give me some more right now. So if I'm getting 3 episodes a week, like, bring it on. Like, I am really genuinely excited. And this is, in my opinion, the best thing Star Wars has ever done. Like, period, point blank. I don't, the original trilogy is great. Rogue One was fantastic. The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 were amazing. But I don't think, like, when Tony Gilroy says this is Star Wars for grown-ups, I'm like, hell yeah, it is. This is HBO quality television on Disney Plus, which you just don't see very often. So even though, they have FX and Hulu, and Hulu is part of Disney Plus. So I suppose, it's that's more of a exaggeration. But at the end of the day, I think this show looks as good as ever. Tony Gilroy, like you said, John, he's not going to stick around Star Wars after this.
Even though everyone wants him to take over the franchise.
I'm like, honestly, here's the thing. If they wanted to, I just don't think either he has the appetite or anybody else involved creatively has the appetite to draw out basically what's going to end up being like 3 or 4 years worth of storytelling in this upcoming season.
I heard
into
that they
multiple seasons.
I heard that they wanted to end it after season 2, but that could just be, Tony Gilroy. I don't want to do more than I have to, which is fine. But even though everyone's like, please stay, but it's like, if the man doesn't want to do it, then we can't force him to do it. Give us like allegedly good Star Wars. Boom, there you go. And then it stays like that. And then, people actually like the things, and like people actually like how this is going. So take it as you can, like, especially with this franchise that a lot of people have just gotten really sick of, like with fucking Ahsoka and Bad Batch and Skeleton Crew, just like all these shows that are like,
No, it's because here's the thing. It's the storytelling in this show feels real. Like these, because for most of us, we like Star Wars as escapist entertainment, right? We watch a Star Wars movie because we want to get away from, like whatever's going on in our lives. You want to just take a break and just watch something fun that takes us to literally a galaxy far, far away a long time ago, or a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's something where, I mean, look, while that is amazing, while that makes Star Wars great and has done so from the beginning, this show makes the characters in Star Wars, the world of Star Wars, feel real in a way that I don't think I've seen from anything else, because it really gives you an insight into the psyche of the characters here. You get to see more of what they're like, who they are as people. So I honestly can't wait for this. What I briefly wanted to point out, by the way, is, let me see if I can share my screen here. Because Director Krennic is here. He's now officially gonna be joining this. Ben Mendelsohn, of course. He was the one who played the character in the movie Rogue One, and we knew he was gonna be a part of season 2. And it just, again, another way in which this ties into the movies. Bix, I don't know. Look, here's the thing. I don't think Bix makes it out of this season. So as good as Adria Arjona is, I don't think her character's meant to survive, because she was not.
I mean, she has to, right?
I mean, she wasn't part of Rogue One, so I don't think she makes it out that far. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of loss and despair. But like TC24 said in the comments, episode 6 of season 1, one of the best things on television. Like, I'll put this show up there with For All Mankind in terms of the level of sci-fi storytelling, character-based storytelling. There's like this Adria Arjona's character, like, gets tortured by this like sound device in season 1. It's one of the most frightening torture sequences without like somebody getting waterboarded that I've ever seen on television. There's so many things about the show where they get it right. Andy Serkis's character, everybody wants him to come back, because everybody knew the guy was like, he could not swim and he was helping everybody else like trying to escape. And I can't say enough good things about it. Like, you've got Stellan Skarsgård in here. You've got like you've got all the names. You've got all the names, all the talent in the world. I can't say enough good things about the show. Guys, if you haven't caught up on season 1, go check it out on Disney Plus, because when season 2 drops, you're not going to want to miss it. This is honestly some of the best Star Wars at a time when the whole franchise still feels a little directionless. This is like the little little starfly just flying in the dark. Like, if you can catch it, it's like lightning in a bottle, and like Andor is lightning in a bottle. So I can't wait for this. I really can't wait to get more Andor, and we're gonna get it soon. And this trailer was amazing. I loved the trailer. I loved everything about it. The Empire cannot win. It's April 22nd, I should say. Can't come soon enough.
That's a Tuesday, right?
I believe that's a Tuesday. Is that Earth Day? Isn't April 22nd usually Earth Day?
23rd.
23rd. All right. Well,
because I know Easter Sunday is the 20th.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be the Tuesday.
I mean, look,
do you want to do Star Wars reviews for the show?
I do. You know why? Because we did it when the first season dropped.
Okay, then you can do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not watching this shit,
fine.
but you can do it.
I think I will do it. I'm going to have fun with it. This is going to be great, especially because they're doing more than one episode each week. I can't wait for that. That's going to look fantastic. All right, so let's keep the ball rolling here. So I guess I've taken the helm here, but thanks, John.
By all means, it's fine. I took over when you fucking knocked yourself out, so that's
I know.
I don't
know.
mind. It's fine. I have the tools. I could do it.
You have the tools. Well, I got the next story loaded up here. Now, this is something that I came across over the weekend. Daily Cosmic Marvel is the account on Threads that I found it on, but they were crediting Daniel RPK, one of our usual suspect
He's not as bad
insiders.
as Jeff Snyder, but still not great.
Like he won't always hit with everything, but he tends to I guess hit more often than not. Having said that, he was reporting over the weekend that Marvel Studios has reportedly put out a new casting call for 2 new roles in Spider-Man 4. One of them is for a male in his early 20s, described as a resourceful young man. I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, you could describe Peter Parker as a resourceful young man in his early 20s. I'm sure they're not looking to recast him. You know what? Potentially. But then the other one is male in his 30s to 50s, any ethnicity, described as a no-nonsense authority figure who sees the world in black and white, loyal, determined, and willing to cross lines to maintain order. So sounds like some kind of military type, somebody who's like a soldier almost. No nonsense.
I could see determined. That as Norman Osborn, but that's unlikely. So who? I mean, I'm just trying to think of his pantheon of villains that could work for that. But I don't know. It's intriguing.
Yeah. By the way, hello to Manos Time, Man of Steel Magnolias, TC24, Enterprising, 5 Art, even though I can't see any of your messages anymore. You must have said something to take John off. Nelson, I already said Enterprising. And Bobby Stevens.
I didn't delete anybody.
Oh, it looks like somebody, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, Andor. Oh, he was just, never mind. Well, hello, Man of Steel Magnolias. He says, hey, buddy. I'm wondering, like, are these characters meant to be maybe, Peter's new classmates in college? Are they going to play a big role? Because obviously this movie is going to be shooting in a few months. So I imagine that they're casting for, some significant roles, but I just can't tell. There's not enough here for us to make any, I don't know, like any guess as to how, like the second description feels like some kind of military type, or like you said, maybe a Norman Osborn. The first one could be a friend of Peter or something, but it's there's not enough there. A resourceful young man could be anybody 20 years old. I can describe half the cast of the last 3 Spider-Man movies featuring like 4 20-somethings resourceful young men. Like you could describe a lot of the MCU that way, let's be frank. So anyway, but
I could also see
the
male 30s to 50s. I could see that as Kraven.
Could be. But like,
I could see resourceful young man as maybe Eddie Brock, because maybe they're teasing their version of the symbiote. Because Kevin Feige's like, we're not fucking crossing over. We'll put Tom Hardy in our universe for 2 seconds so we get the symbiote. Outside of that, no, we're not doing that shit.
I mean, look, TC24 said the same, and there was a rumor out that potentially Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is in a crossover, but like you said, I don't think that's very likely. Yeah. Well, hey, guys, let us know in the chat and the comments down below who you think these 2 characters could be. Is there some kind of insight you can provide based on the story maybe that we know? We don't really know much about the story for this movie, but like maybe you can glean something
from this. Could be the Smythe. Could be Spencer Smythe. That could be a good one.
That could be a good one. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, hopefully we'll know more in the coming weeks.
God, that would be great. I would love to see Smythe and the Spider Slayers be the villains. That would be fucking amazing.
Well, in the meantime, we have to talk about Saw. We talked about this last week, if you remember.
Yeah.
And we mentioned that Saw 11 is having all kinds of creative differences. The writers had turned in the script months ago. They hadn't heard anything back from the studio, the producers who were in charge of the franchise, and they were just like, we don't know what's going on. And it seemed like there was a lot of bickering back and forth. And now Lionsgate has removed Saw 11 from their production calendar and replaced the slot of the release slot that they had later this year. And they've, instead of having Saw 11 on it, now they replaced it with Strangers Chapter 2. So Strangers
Gross.
Chapter 2 now takes its place. Great. For Lionsgate, they've got another movie to put in its spot. I personally am not a big fan of either franchise, but I will say, like, Saw has made some serviceable movies, but now September 26th, which would have been the release date for Saw 11, becomes the release date for The Strangers Chapter 2. Are you surprised that this feels like this is the next step for the studio? Because obviously the creatives behind the scenes can't make heads or tails of what they want to do with the next movie. So the studio is just hedging their bets and being like, we're not just going to give up that slot. We're going to put another movie there instead.
Even though everyone said The Strangers Chapter 1 sucks, but
I know.
whatever.
Well, but it looks like they worked on both of them. So
but I will say The Watcher brought up something interesting I did want to talk about. So I'm sorry, can you go back to the previous Spider-Man story?
Let me go back to that one.
Because it brings up an interesting point. The Watcher, he says, or they say, I'm pretty confident that Mr. Negative is the male villain and Harry is the resourceful young man. However, the problem with that is look at male 30s, 40s, any ethnicity. Mr. Negative is Asian. I don't think they would because you can race swap white characters and like that's like fine apparently. But if you race swap a person of color, people get pissed. So I have a strong feeling because I was thinking like Mr. Negative could be good. I'm like, oh, but they say any ethnicity, so it's unlikely that they will make that Mr. Negative. Because I don't get me wrong, The Watcher. I was thinking of that too. I'm like, oh, that could be Mr. Negative, but then I remembered the any ethnicity. So I don't think that they're gonna make. I don't think they're gonna do that with Mr. Negative because I feel like it's important to that character to have him be Asian. So I'm just saying it was an interesting you brought that up because I was literally thinking that same thing. So personally, I don't think it could be Norman Osborn because I mean Norman Osborn is black and your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, so that doesn't really matter. They could be just saying that so that they don't have like the people who know that be like, oh, they could that's a fair point. They're just doing that to like cover themselves up, but in case they aren't, I don't think that that's the case. But Mr. Negative could be an interesting villain to have. Although I just thought the Spider Slayers I would just love to see, especially if like they have good CGI. Unlikely, but if they have it good CGI, that could look good. But a man can dream. But that was just something I wanted to talk about for a quick sec. But in terms of Saw, going back to the actual story we were talking about, I feel a little bit bad for Saw fans. I do, like, because I know my friend is like fucking pissed. He loves Saw X, Saw 10. And he was like so excited for Saw 11, and now he's just like, oh, bro, come on. And then like Strangers Chapter 2, a bunch of my friends saw it. They're like, this is dog shit. And so it's just like kind of ironic in that respect, since and that's what's so weird is because a lot of people weren't expecting Saw 11 to be, or Saw 10 to be any good. Like nobody, like, oh, it's a prequel. Tobin, they're not even going to try and hide Tobin Bell's age. They're not going to try and hide Amanda's age. I forget the actress's name, but they're not even like trying to hide their ages. It's a prequel. It's a sequel to 2. This is dumb. This is weird. And then it just shocked everybody with how actually good it was. So that the fact that you're not wanting to continue that goodwill that you have with fans currently with the same writers and wanting like a critically acclaimed movie, not critically acclaimed, but like acclaimed in terms of the audience who like want to see more. No, let's not do that. Let's implement the movie that bombed and was like ripped to shreds, like critically and by audience scores. Yeah, let's push that. It's like it just doesn't make fucking sense to me at all. And they're like, oh, we're doing a reboot trilogy. It's like, cool, things get canceled, bro. Like, fucking go with the thing that people like instead of the thing that people don't like. Doesn't fucking make sense to me, but whatever. I'm just a fan. What the fuck do I know?
look, at the end of the day, Saw 10 was serviceable. I don't have much of a personally vested interest in Saw 11. It's just never a good thing when you see creatives, squabbling in the public eye, and then you see the studio move the film. Like this is a bad reflection on the filmmakers, because this means the studio was like, oh, you guys can't get your shit together, and now we're reading about it in the trades. Okay, we're gonna need to make some changes here. And for the franchise, it probably means some changes need to happen behind the scenes as well. With that in mind, let's move on to the next story, shall we? So, basically, John, you remember we talked about this at length a few weeks. It feels like it's been a few weeks now, but if you remember, Jerry Bruckheimer, and who's of course a producer behind Top Gun Maverick. He's produced all those Pirates of the Caribbean for Disney. He's been around for a long time. The man has produced some of the biggest action blockbusters you probably have ever seen, and you will recognize most of the films on his resume. And then you have next to him Joseph Kosinski. And Joseph Kosinski, of course, directed Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. He also directed him in that other, what am I forgetting the name of the other sci-fi movie that he did? It had Olga Kurylenko in it and stuff. It was from, somebody let me know in the chat. It was from a few years ago, and they used quite a bit of.
It was Oblivion.
Oblivion. I actually have it on Blu-ray. I don't know why I'm forgetting the name, but it was a nice, sci-fi film. It was limited scope, but some of the techniques of how they pulled off the visual effects for the time without having like the volume, it was amazing. I mean, even some of that tech, I think, for if you don't have the money to spend for the volume for your production, that some of the technology they used was just as good. Like, it looks photoreal. So to me, I think at the end of the day, when you bring in somebody like a Jerry Bruckheimer, who's still making hits decades into his career, and then Joseph Kosinski, who's still making, technique, and the way he just approaches storytelling is top of the line. He's the one behind F1 that's coming out with Brad Pitt in a couple of months. So the man's on fire. He's on top of the world. He's making some of the most iconic movies of our recent memory. I think F1 will become one of those iconic movies. Now, we have got some news about the next project that these guys will collaborate on. If you see the headline here, John, we talked about this package was up for bidding a few weeks ago, and it was meant to be this UFO conspiracy thriller that Joseph Kosinski and Jerry Bruckheimer were working on together. And now it looks like Apple, who of course funded Joseph Kosinski's F1 movie, has shelled out the money needed to bring to life this new UFO conspiracy thriller, which is going to sort of play on some of the events in real life recently, like with the Pentagon hearing, the congressional hearings about UFOs and stuff. It seems like it's going to try to lean into that a little bit. Are you, excited, that Apple is the one who picked this up? And then once you give me your reaction, I want to dive into a little bit of like the amount of money that's being tossed around here, because this didn't come cheap for Apple. They must have had to outbid quite a few other studios, and they paid top dollar for this. But what are your thoughts on Apple being the one to pick this up?
I mean, that makes sense. I feel like they want to push, kind of more original movies, I guess. And he just worked with Apple with F1, as you said. So I feel like that makes sense to me. Like, it feels like. I mean, I hope Apple can produce some good movies and have some movies that are as good as their television. So I agree with Enterprising. I'm curious about this one. So yeah, I think that'll be it's definitely an interesting. It's like I like the idea of like a UFO thing. I mean, Steven Spielberg is going back to his roots with a UFO movie, so
I'm so interested in seeing, like, it's gonna be 2 UFO movies coming out. Are we gonna have a whole renaissance of UFO movies in the mainstream, like the 80s? That would be nice. I think this combination of producer and director, because the last thing they did together was, of course, Top Gun Maverick, and Top Gun Maverick was that's not my name. Top Gun Maverick was the highest grossing movie of the year, and still to this day people look back at like, what, the movie theaters came back to life because of Top Gun Maverick. So I don't think you can go wrong here. But then when you look at the amount of money they put out, John, it's significant. Like, they're talking about like the amount of money that have been given out here is way above market value. It's one of the richest deals in quite some time, one that underscores a shift an event movie landscape and shows that behind the scenes talent, in this case, a new generation combined with the long-standing veteran, aka the new generation is Joseph Kosinski and the long-standing veteran is Jerry Bruckheimer, can command top market prices. So it looks like they've got their, you know, dollars and all in place, and all the talent is paid for, similar to what I feel like Netflix did with the Knives Out franchise. Like we got the exact numbers at some point, and I think it was like Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson ended up making like hundreds of millions of dollars just to sign on for the movies, not to mention then they're paying for the budgets of the films themselves. It looks like Joseph Kosinski and Jerry Bruckheimer are getting top dollar here from Apple. On one side, I'm like, okay, Apple is making a play to get maybe something that could potentially have, you know, a franchise potential, or could become like one of those iconic, like could be the Top Gun Maverick of the year, and like maybe what they think maybe F1 will become. So from a content standpoint, from a branding standpoint, it makes sense Apple makes this play. But then when you look at what value does this bring to Apple, beyond that, like does it give them, you know, the ability to work with these guys for more than just this one movie, like what Netflix did? I mean, do you think this is Apple thinking long term, or this was
maybe
just, we've got the money to splash, so let's just go get this big movie and we're gonna make a statement?
I mean, even though I did that story a little bit far back with the they lost $1 billion. Okay, we get like 300 billion like a day, so it's like, okay, maybe not that much, but you know, it's still a lot. Like they got like 300 billion in like the year, so $1 billion that they lose is nothing to them. So they could do whatever the flying fuck they want.
And streaming services, by the way, for what it's worth, streaming services have lost more than $1 billion for a long time. Like Netflix wasn't profitable until a few years ago. Plenty of other streaming services are losing many millions of dollars. And like you said, Apple, that's not even 1% of the profits that they're making every year. So $1 billion is not something that they're worried about. They want to make money eventually from Apple TV Plus and their original movies, but I think they're okay with losing that kind of money early on. Still, what feels like it's early on. Apple TV Plus is still like under $10 a month, whereas Netflix has gone over like 25, and HBO is somewhere in that territory. Disney Plus is raising prices like every 3 months. So Apple TV Plus still feels like the best value in terms of what you can get bang for your buck for streaming options. And then, most of these movies, once they're out of theaters, if they do go to theaters, some of these movies end up straight to streaming, although I don't think they're putting out the kind of money they are for this one to put it on streaming, straight to streaming. But all of these movies that end up on Apple TV Plus, like you can go watch Argyle on Apple TV Plus. If you didn't get to see the Napoleon movie in a movie theater, you can go see it on Apple TV Plus. Granted, those maybe are not the best options because they weren't the best movies, but like I'm sure eventually, like, when F1 makes it big in the movie theater, the place to watch it after it comes out of the movie theaters is going to be Apple TV Plus. And I think that's what they're hoping this does as well. Severance brought a couple of million new subscribers to their streaming service, which is a big deal when they only have like 45 million subscribers, because that's a significant chunk of it. So hopefully this is, another step in the right direction. I'm excited. I'm just excited anybody pick this up. I'm like, UFO conspiracy thriller. I want to believe the truth is out there. Mulder and Scully, X-Files. Just put it just all over me, rub it on me, like you just feed it to me. I'll drink it out of a glass. Like I want more of this stuff. So I can't wait for this movie. I probably will end up watching some X-Files now. Thank you.
Honestly, now I kind of want to watch. I've been watching. It's funny. I was watching Evil, which is pretty much like demonic X-Files. It's like X-Files, but like with demons instead of sci-fi shit. And I'm like, still a good show. Still a good show.
Well, that's the news. We're gonna move on to the quick hits now, John. Let's do that, shall we?
Yeah.
That's loud. There we go. Okay, that's the right volume, I think. Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's start the quick hits. We don't have many quick hits today, but we do have a few.
But they'll be quick.
Exactly. Well, thank God Caleb's not here. He would be ripping us before we even get started. All right. So, the first quick hit, Lizzo is set to play the rock and roll pioneer's sister, Rosetta Tharpe, in Rosetta for Amazon MGM Studios. Thoughts?
I'm gonna need a lot of bananas.
Cool. I guess we'll see. I don't know if this thing is meant to be released in theaters or go to streaming, but Lizzo, good on you. Then I came across this, John. I came across this teaser trailer, the official teaser number 1 to the Toxic Avenger. You saw it. What are your thoughts? Is this making you more excited?
Oh yeah, I'm stoked. I'm super stoked for this. This looks ridiculous. It looks dumb. This looks like a trauma movie, but in the best possible way. Macon Blair, he's a decently known actor, and now he's directing something. Yeah, Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger, and it's just great stuff. Ridiculous as hell.
That's violent. Dang. Okay.
It is extremely violent. Let's not get another copyright strike, please.
Nope,
let's not get another.
We're gonna be
claim.
very careful with that.
But I'm super stoked for this. Considering that it was like on indefinite hold when they couldn't get a distributor, I was like, oh great, now we're never gonna see this. But now we're getting it, and I can't wait.
It looks so insane. I mean, I don't know. This is not my cup of tea, but I might be convinced to go see it.
Don't see it. If it's not your cup of tea, don't watch it.
Okay, so this is not the one to experiment with, then you're saying.
No.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, cool. I don't know what's going on in the chat. It feels retro 80s hammy. That's pretty much what it is, isn't it, John? It's retro 80s hammy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of the vibe it's giving off of, like, very like hammiest of the ham Z-list movie, like, kind of thing. So yeah, pretty much that.
By the way, Kristen in the chat, hello, asking a interesting question. We'll get to your question in a second when we get to the DC Daily part of the show, Kristen. So do stick around. We will get to the question for sure. But the next quick hit, this is to do with Daredevil. Of course, Daredevil Born Again. This is the week when they put out 2 episodes. Episodes, was it 5 and 6? So you're going to get a double episode. You're going to see Daredevil Born Again. Then you're going to see Daredevil Born again. So I wanted to kind of quickly go over something. I think we've talked about this before. I think Liz was on when you talked about it as well. But it's worth mentioning. Daredevil is, premiered to 7.5 million viewers in its first 5 days. It was the biggest streaming debut of the year for Disney Plus. But when you compare it to some of the other Marvel Disney shows, Agatha all along made 9.3 million. That's how many viewers tuned in to watch that show, its premiere. And then Star Wars Acolyte, which got canceled, had 11.1 million viewers for his opening episode. Now the thing is, if you just compare the opening episodes, that's one thing. What you want to see is growth over time. Now 7.5 million viewers to premiere is a lot lower than those other 2 shows, both of whom I don't know. I mean, Acolyte is canceled for sure. Agatha All Along may or may not get another season. But I mean, John, would you agree that for Daredevil Born Again, this isn't necessarily the biggest start, but I guess as long as the audience doesn't drop off a cliff like it did for the Acolyte, it may not be such a bad thing that it started off this slow.
I mean, they're already planning to do a season 2.
I mean, they're already filming it, so we know they're committed to at least that. But
so, it's entirely possible that that season 2 might be the last season, or season 5, whatever you want to really, however you really want to do it. But I think I'm kind of not surprised, because Daredevil has a more faithful following, mainly people who watch the Netflix show. So if some people are like not getting that Netflix quality that they craved for like almost a decade, that since it ended, that they're like, well, fuck this, I'm not gonna watch it. So I think that's why it's gotten that big drop off. So yeah, and I would just like to say, the show with the white guy dropped off below the show that had a white woman in as the lead and a queer man in the cast, as well as the heavily diverse Star Wars Acolyte. I'm just saying. I'm just saying because everyone was claiming, oh, those Acolyte got canceled because they hate diversity and blah blah blah. When
That
it's just
wasn't the reason. It was just not a good show.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it wasn't a
just
good
not
show. But
show.
all the defenders that came out of the woodwork that were like, oh no, people hated the show because they're racists, and it's like,
yeah, well, I think that had more. It speaks more to the people who were making that commentary than the show itself. The Watcher making a good point that Disney has also had 153% uptick in viewership in the Netflix episodes. So this is the thing that I was gonna get to was, it looks like there was a pretty high bar for entry because when you connect it to a show that already had 3 seasons, people are like, do I need to do all that homework? And it looks like a lot of people are. So maybe there'll be a lot of latent viewing for this show. So maybe we shouldn't pay as much attention to the show's numbers as it airs every week. Maybe we should, I mean, obviously they will pay attention to that, but I think what's going to be more important is how many people are still watching this show 6 months from now, especially knowing there's another season. Because I know not many of us want to commit to a show that's already canceled. Knowing that they're already shooting the next season makes you more so want to watch this one, so that way you're caught up and then you can keep moving forward when the new season comes out. But anyway, guys, we're gonna have another couple episodes drop this week, and maybe Liz will be on this week, and then she'll give us a review. So we'll get into that one when the time comes. Now, this story, I mean, you could put this in the DCU daily part of the show, but I wanted to kind of sprinkle a little bit of DC in the quick hits, John. So recently, one of the co-stars of Alan Ritchson in the new Reacher season, his name of Roberto Montesinos. He's starting alongside Ritchson in the new series, the new season. He plays a DEA agent, and he was talking about how Alan Ritchson could be the best Batman for James Gunn's new DCU. And this is what he had to say. Now, the new season of Reacher is doing fantastic. Alan Ritchson has publicly campaigned and is continuing to campaign to be the new Batman.
He'll do it for free.
He'll do it for free. He'll pay to play. But his co-star, Roberto Montesinos, recently said, I think he would be the best Batman we've ever had. He would be a natural fit for Gotham's brooding protector. And then he went on to explain what would he bring to that role. First of all, his work ethic, his research, his command of a character. For example, in Lee Child's books, when you're reading the book, Reacher walks into the room and there are 3 pages of thought. Everything that he's clocking. How do you do that without those words? He does it with his face, with his eyes. And he said to me once, every movement of your eye indicates to the audience a new thought. So I guess what he's describing is that the work ethic, Alan Ritchson's got it. He does the research. He knows the source material. He pays attention. He's gonna read up on the character. He's gonna do what Henry Cavill did for Superman and for The Witcher. So I mean, that's not a bad sign. I'm like, that's only a plus. Like, if you're doing a pros and cons list, like, hey, Alan Ritchson does his research. The man wants the job. He's gonna, go in and give you a comic accurate version of the character. What are your thoughts on what Roberto had to say about his co-star, Alan Ritchson, potentially being Batman?
I mean, I've said before many a times, it's like, I just don't think he's that good of an actor. Like, I just don't think. I know everyone's like, oh, you don't really need fucking that much acting ability to play. Well, like, why do they keep getting great actors to play him then? Like, I don't, like, you got Christian Bale, Robert Pattinson, like, amazing actors. You had Val Kilmer, who was amazing at his peak. George Clooney, excellent actor. Yeah, I know his movies was not that good, but in what he has shown us since then, great actor. Michael Keaton is probably, out of the movie Batman, live action movie Batman, probably the weakest, but that he still did like a decent job in those movies, and he still did what he was, well, at least written to do. So I think, like, and the thing is, I feel like his Reacher, don't get me wrong, it's a good show. I like the show. I can't wait for the finale this upcoming Thursday. But it just, like, when he's like trying to deliver, like when he's delivering, like, for instance, there was a great moment in, I think it was this past episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, where he's talking about this character that this DEA agent, not this guy, but the woman in the show,
right? Where
she was like, hey, I want to get, like, I got this girl in trouble with this mob. So like I need to like help her because she's here because of me and blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And then it's like, well, you see Reacher get like kind of attached to that aspect, like because you care about her, I care about her type of thing. I don't buy that from because he kind of gives like a little bit of a monologue. He's like, I've grown to see like the attachment there, but he goes on and it's just like, I'm watching the show and I'm like, I like the show. He's good in the show. I did not buy that monologue for like a fucking singular second. Like, he's kind of like Keanu Reeves in a way, but he doesn't have the charisma and likability of Keanu Reeves that makes Keanu Reeves so like engaging to watch and why we love him so much. So it's just,
I don't know.
He's just kind of one note. But the thing is, Reacher's kind of a one note character. Like you're not really supposed to identify with him. He's literally a Gary Stu. Like, that's the character, which you can explain Batman is at points as well, but that's when Batman is poorly written as a character, when he is a Gary Stu. So if this guy who plays a one note Gary Stu character should play a guy who at his very worst is a badly written Gary Stu character, then I don't want that in my Batman, you know? So I'm just kind of sick of seeing this when there's so many better actors. Honestly, I'd take Jensen Ackles over him, and he's been fucking ground to hell for this character for longer than Ritchson has. So it's just like, if we were to get him tomorrow, I'd be like, bro, get fucking acting classes because you need them. Because I don't want a one-note Batman, because then we're getting fucking like George Clooney all over again, but like serious. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And it doesn't help that Andy Muschietti can't direct a superhero movie and won't shut the fuck up. That doesn't help matters either. So I don't know. It's just like, bro can't fucking act. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I mean, look, here's the thing. His acting ability is the biggest concern, but I also wonder, I mean, how many other people can he get who are going to have the acting chops, who also can bulk up and basically stand next to Superman and not look, like they can't hang, because this Batman is going to need to be like the Ben Affleck Batman. He needs to live in a world where superheroes who can do ungodly things exist, like, Superman exists. I'm sure we're going to get like, something like a Martian Manhunter or the Authority, like. So he can't just be the brooding, introspective like the Christian Bale or the Robert Pattinson Batman. And look, here's the thing: Ben Affleck is twice the actor that Alan Ritchson currently is, but so it's not a fair comparison. But I'm like, physically,
4 times the actor.
There you go. Fair enough. But I mean, look, Reacher season 3, like the Watcher is saying, it's 53 million.
Yeah, it's not a bad
talked about,
show.
Like, it's a huge show. The season 3 is bigger than ever. So. Here's the thing. He's got the pull. He's got the charisma. He's not, like you said, the best.
I don't want Alan to feel like Keaton meets Batfleck. You mean Punisher in a Batman costume meets a literal murderer? Zack Snyder's murderer Batman? No fucking thank you.
Well, okay. I'm sure we're gonna talk about this in more detail when we're, in the DCU daily part of the show. It will probably come up again because every time he mentions it, we talk about it. So, but hey, look, Alan Ritchson, he wants to do it, and he's got an endorsement from one of his co-stars on Reacher. So there you go. Now moving on to the next quick hit, a little bit quicker this time. Curly Cronin posted this day one. They have started filming the Blumhouse remake of The Mummy, the Lee Cronin's Mummy. John, are you interested, excited? They're starting to film this thing, man. It's real.
I'm excited because Lee Cronin is directing, and he did a really good job with Evil Dead Rise, although I don't think he went to the next. I don't think he clicked the next link. We still see Alan Ritchson.
Oh wait, really? Hold on. Is that
there?
Better?
We go. Anyway.
Okay. Sorry, my bad.
I'm excited. Look, as long as it's better than the Tom Cruise one, which I think it will be, because we have Lee Cronin, who is a capable, great horror director. I want The Mummy to feel horror again, because I will say, as you know, you have Brendan Fraser on the side there. I don't really love the Brendan Fraser mummy that much. Like, it's fine, it's okay. They did something really different with having it be like more of an adventure film, which is fine. But fuck that. I want to see fucked up murder shit like that. I don't want blockbuster mummy. I want, you know, horror mummy like Boris Karloff and, you know, the movies that follow, even though that didn't have Boris Karloff, like Boris Karloff and Christopher Lee and Lon Chaney Jr. Those guys were like the horror mummies, and that's what I want to see. Like, I don't want to see, you know, Tom Cruise fighting, you know, sandstorm fucking shit, or, you know, Brendan Fraser being an action star against, you know, big crazy. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, it should be better. Lee Cronin did an excellent, like, he has one major movie under his belt with Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise is probably my second favorite Evil Dead movie. I don't know. I'm kind of iffing and anding that, but he did a great job with that. So I have faith. I have faith in this, and Lee Cronin's a great director, so I'm cool with it.
It's gonna be interesting. I don't know if this mummy can get the cultural relevance that, you know, the Brendan Fraser mummy movies did. The Tom Cruise one obviously didn't go very far. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see when the time comes. In the meantime, John, The Office is celebrating its 20th anniversary today. I want to get your thoughts. It's been 20 years since The Office first hit the air. I mean, aren't we supposed to get that new like spin-off this year?
Yeah, the paper.
The one where it's like a newspaper. The paper. Yeah, like that's, which I forget which of the actors is coming back. At least one or two of the characters and actors are coming back for the new show. But when you look at obviously the people that were involved with this, Mindy Kaling, Greg Daniels, Paul Lieberstein, Michael Schur, all of these, you know, writers and producers, and in Mindy Kaling's, you know, case, actors, have gone on to do so many other things, not to mention the cast on screen. I mean, Rian Johnson still, every time he's interviewed, he gets asked at least one question about his time in The Office. Steve Carell has had a wonderful career himself. How do you look back at the cultural impact of The Office? Because the American version of The Office, even though it wasn't the original Office, the British show, of course, was. Most people, when you ask them about The Office, this is what they think.
Yeah,
of. Like, what are your thoughts
on it? I mean, I watched the show. I think I stopped at around like season 6. I think it was just one of those shows that I think went on like 5 seasons too long.
I feel like once Michael Scott left, that's when
even before he
really
left,
worried.
it just got dumb. Yeah, I think once Andy came in, I think once Ed Helms came in, that's kind of when the show started.
I don't know.
And
I
like
love
Ed
the
Helms.
episode where he punches the wall, or the one when him and Dwight are going at it, and he's running his Prius into him. It's just that was fun. I did enjoy that.
I never finished the show, but I really had. I mean, I heard like the ones when Greg Daniels left. I think those were seasons like 7 and 8 were really fucking bad. But people look back on it fondly because it's the show they watched way back when. So there's that. But I know the cultural impact. I mean, you know, every white girl you know has probably watched this show. That's the joke. That's because they're like a failing newspaper company.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
That's
like,
the whole joke.
The whole point.
Nobody
because
fucking
it's not
reads
like
newspapers
the
anymore.
paper companies basically didn't exist in 2000s when The Office was on the air. That's why they were always like that's part of the premise, calling it the paper. But yeah.
Yep.
No, hey,
but
you know what? 20 years.
I know it's popular, and I know a lot of people love it,
time.
and that's cool. It just
yeah,
it's a little bit overrated to me.
It's also like it's probably the first show that caught that Netflix renaissance moment. Because so many shows have had that happen to them. Suits, of course, to the point where they have got a new spin-off going on right now to very mixed results. But The Office was like that first show that caught fire on Netflix after it was, you know, aired. So like so many people out there who are fans of The Office first saw it on Netflix, not on NBC when it was originally airing. So I mean, it leaves a mark for us all, and I'm glad that I was, you know, there to watch it while it was airing, and then, you know, continue to go back to it since on Netflix.
Ew,
but you know
gross. What? The Watcher, you're mentioning fucking CinemaSins. Get out of here with that shit. we don't speak that name in this fucking household.
And speaking of which, I think we're done with the quick hits, John. So there goes the music. Well, let us know, guys, what you thought about the news. Did you enjoy any of the stories? The Daredevil ratings, I think, is interesting to talk about. There's a new 2 new episodes coming out this week. We talked about, of course, the Joseph Kosinski, Jay Bruckheimer collaboration, the new UFO conspiracy thriller coming out. Now we know it's going to be on Apple. Of course, The Office celebrating its 20th anniversary. We talked about the box office weekend results, not very good for any movie, especially Snow White, getting close to the bomb territory. And then, of course, Andor and Toxic Avenger put out new trailers. So both of those look fantastic. So drop your comments down below and hit the like button while you're at it. Now we move on to the main event of the show. So let's switch up the graphics, shall we? Let's put on the new background. There we go. Okay. Welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. So as always, you've got lots and lots to discuss. There's Superman news. There's Supergirl news. That's the big story. We've got to talk about more Lobo. Jason Momoa saying that he's born to play Lobo. And then he went on to explain what he means by that. Is there a part of the world, maybe in the Southeast Asia part of the world, where they might get a 5-minute sneak peek of Superman before another movie? What do I need to go, to that theater and get myself that 5 minutes? Because I don't know if I'm getting that 5 minutes. We will, of course, get into your questions, whether it's CinemaCon related. When you guys asked us about what are our favorite superheroes, we'll talk about that. Peacemaker season 2 and lots more beyond that. Of course, John, you've got a lot of stories as always. Which of those excite you the most today?
Lobo. Well, if we're talking about Lobo, that's going to be the one I'm most excited about, because this is like the biggest dream come true in terms of this casting. Like this, it would be like if, I don't know, it would be a really good casting. I don't know, like fucking Jerry Trainer is Plastic Man. Tomorrow, Jerry Trainer is playing Plastic Man. That would be like dream come true. So I'll take it. The best casting of this new universe so far. Hell yeah.
All right. Well, the first thing that we're going to talk about today in DCU Daily, that is the Lantern story, John. So this came up the other. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm saving that question, Tony. I will bring that question back up later on. But the first story today is something to do with lanterns. It's a little obvious because we talked about the look of Ehrlich Thompson, the actor playing Sinestro, the other day. We have talked about how we're getting a lot of backstory for not just Jon Stewart with both of his parents being cast, and even his dad is getting an even like a younger version of himself as well. But we have also discussed the idea that, hey, they're probably gonna hint at Kyle Chandler's character Hal Jordan's past. So
yeah,
here they're mentioning that Lanterns will, of course, discuss how Sinestro was at one point Hal Jordan's mentor. So given that he was Hal Jordan's mentor, that's why they've cast an older actor to play the character, because he was even older. Like, he was the mentor to Kyle Chandler. So that's why there's an age difference. So that explains that. But do you think we're going to get some, as they ask here, do you think we're going to get some flashback sequences? Like,
oh yeah,
I mean, the White Lotus is being suggested as somebody who can play a younger Hal Jordan. We know, well, at least we don't think there's going to be a younger Jon Stewart. But I guess if they were to go younger, he'd be like a kid, because he's already.
I mean, that makes sense
30s.
because they're having a younger version of his dad.
Of his dad. But like, do you think we're gonna get that flashback where we do get a younger Hal Jordan being trained up by a younger Sinestro at some point?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, like it feels like that's pretty obvious. Considering like, again, they're older, we're having these flashbacks with John and his family. So yeah, I mean, I said that from the beginning that Sinestro's role in this is probably going to only be in flashbacks, because I can't imagine that they're going to use him like immediately. So I mean, you're not wrong, but I can't imagine that they're gonna blow their load and fucking have Sinestro be the villain in season 1 if this is gonna be an ongoing show, because we have I mean, it looks pretty grounded. I mean, as we know from the image here, remember the image, that thing going on. But we do have I can't imagine that they're gonna go too crazy with like cosmic stuff, and especially with a notable villain like Sinestro. I feel like they'll save him. They'll save him for a later season, maybe like the finale of the show or the finale season, because that makes the most sense to me, but who knows?
I mean, to me, the biggest thing about this is it doubles down on the idea that Sinestro isn't necessarily a threat in the present day. So I worry, are you disposing of one of the most iconic Green Lantern villains right off the bat? Unless the Sinestro is still capable of wreaking havoc and being the main antagonist. But it does worry me, right? Because like when you have somebody like a Mark Strong cast in the role like they did in the 2011 movie, sure, the movie wasn't great, but I'm like, if they were to do sequels, you could bring him back. There could be more story there that you can tell. Here, I don't know. Maybe they're just writing him off the bat. Like that's my only concern. Again, not something that I'm going to lose sleep over, but it is something that I worry about. That are we going to have a Sinestro that's well past his prime? Most of his stories are told in flashbacks, and then we just kind of move past it almost right off the bat. So that's my only concern. But I mean, hey guys, I'm sure we're gonna get to talk about this more as we get closer to the show coming out, and maybe we'll get more set photos. In the meantime, Supergirl, we'll talk about set photos in a little bit. This is John's favorite part of the show. So John, as Jason Momoa has been talking about quite a bit recently, he's been doing a lot of interviews to promoting Minecraft. But every time, without fail, he gets asked about Lobo, as they should be asking him about Lobo. So
I mean, that's the most marketing we're getting from the fucking DCU. God knows it's more marketing than fucking what Jennifer James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing in this side of the States. So,
we'll
take it.
He was being interviewed by Entertainment Weekly, and he was asked about Lobo again. And then he confirmed that, hey, look, they're halfway done filming Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
He's halfway. They don't say halfway in general. They just say he's halfway.
Okay, so he's halfway done filming for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And then he said, look, I'm like, I was born to play this role. I was born to play Lobo.
Yes.
And to quote him, he said, if you are going to typecast me in anything, let's put me in Lobo. Motorcycles, smoking cigars, partying, dreadlocks, love a fight, funny. Like, he basically is checking off boxes. Like, I got that, I got that, I got that. Lobo's got that, I got that. Okay, Lobo. I am Lobo. He's basically saying, I am Lobo. What are your thoughts on, again, he's just continuing to reaffirm that he is the best.
I mean, he is the character. Like, that's like he probably designed his entire look and personality off of this fucking character. So, it's just kind of amusing to me that it's like, oh, I'm gonna be in a DC movie, so I'm gonna be Lobo, right? No, you're gonna be Aquaman. And he's like,
but he
mean,
mentioned how he was surprised when Zack Snyder called him. Now, look, I enjoyed the first Aquaman movie a lot. Love that film.
Did too.
Had some moments of weirdness.
It's one of the better DCU movies.
Yes. I mean, was it deserving of $1 billion? Maybe not, but I'll take it.
You know what?
Let him make $1 billion.
Aquaman gets no love anyway. He's a great character, and
I was so happy he wasn't the butt of jokes anymore.
He wasn't the butt of the joke, and he fucking, like, the first Aquaman movie got $1 billion. Like, that's really awesome to see, because it's like the first Batman movie ever released. Well, technically, I mean, if you count it, the '66 movie was technically the first. But if you want to be like serious Batman, you have Batman 89, you have Superman 78, and you have like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. All did really well. Now, if only we could have said the same thing about Green Lantern and the Flash, but hey, 4 for 6 so far. And then if we ever get a Martian Manhunter movie, would have gotten the core 7 on the big screen at some point. So let's hope it can be 5 for 7 rather than 4 for 7, but it would be the majority. But even then, it's cool that like Aquaman did get there, even if it was not really the character. But like, I'll take it. Like, it felt like an underwater, like it felt like Indiana Jones. It felt like all this stuff. So I'll take it. Like, it was an awesome movie, top 5 DCEU easily. So yeah, it was great. But the fact that he's actually getting to play Lobo is awesome. I think the guy in Krypton did a very good job, even though he
He
was
did.
really small, but he still did do a great job in that role.
He was good for the show.
Yeah.
You would not want him to be playing the character
Exactly.
for movies. By the time you get to the second Aquaman movie, though, Jason Momoa was just being himself and very off type. He was already pretty off type for Aquaman, but he basically felt more like Lobo than he did in that second movie. I don't know. I mean, it's but yeah, enterprising. It is the only DCEU movie, the first Aquaman, that made $1 billion. So hey, Jason Momoa is technically DC's most successful actor at the box office, at least. So I mean, I guess Ben Affleck, maybe Henry Cavill, because like their combined box office for all their movies was maybe higher. But hey, all right, moving on. Batman and Robin. Speaking of Batman, we were talking about Batman earlier in the show. They've announced over at DC a new Robin and Batman Jason Todd comic. This is a 3-issue limited series by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen.
Nguyen, I think.
Nguyen? Okay, Dustin Nguyen. I apologize for butchering your name. The first issue arrives on June 11, 2025. What are your thoughts on this? Is this one that you'd be interested in? You talked about recently that Jason Todd doesn't get enough love. He's getting a limited series here. What are your thoughts on just them giving this character some more attention, some more love?
I think it's cool because I've heard good things about Robin and Batman. I heard the premise and I don't really care for it. But still, I've heard it's a good comic, and for the people that like it, that's cool. But I think that it fits better maybe with Jason Todd. I don't know, but like it's definitely cool. Like I heard good things about it, so they're getting a sequel. I hope it's like takes place in the same universe, because that would work, rather than it's another Elseworld story that deals with the same thing, and it's like, all right, that's kind of boring. But I hope it's like it actually continues the story proper. So
yeah. And then the Watcher is saying in the chat that, look, as far as casting somebody for the character of Batman, or I suppose in anything, whether it's Joker, excuse me, Robin, Jason Todd, most of the time we look at the casting and we're like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. Like Michael Keaton was gonna be Mr. Mom, or with Robert Pattinson, he's like, oh, it's the Twilight boy. Or Ben Affleck was like, oh my god, is Ben Affleck the Batfleck? But every time, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, they've all outperformed, the expectations. Now, Ron, of course, is interested in picking up this comic, so I myself might give this a shot. This looks interesting, John. So moving on to the next thing. Speaking of Batman, on the movie front, Warner Brothers Spain's website has now listed the Batman Part 2 as an untitled Batman film, which is not surprising. The surprising part is that they're adding sci-fi and fantasy to the genre. So unlike the first movie, which was listed only as an action-adventure film, it looks like this one is not just going to be action-adventure, but also sci-fi fantasy. Do you think this hints at a possible change in the film's title and tone? I, for one, before you say anything, think this is a little exaggerated. I feel like the first movie you could have said sci-fi fantasy. Most superhero movies are
considered.
So to me, this is like, don't tell me anything. I don't even know if Matt Reeves has done enough of the script for us to know whether there's any sci-fi or fantasy.
Yeah, it's like, who the fuck at Warner Brothers Spain knows? They think that would mean they know the story better than Matt Reeves does. Who knows if we have like a full fucking script anymore? So it's kind of just okay. It's just kind of. It's interesting, but a grain of salt. I don't think it fucking means anything.
Look, here's the thing. The script needs to be done for them to classify it as something. And we haven't heard that, James Gunn has yet to receive the first copy of the script. Maybe he has. Maybe we're just being misled. I don't know. I, for one, would be like, this just looks like somebody, updated the listing and said, oh, aren't there supposed to be sci-fi fantasy? So they just put that in there. Braun, stay cool, bud boy. Yeah, well, I for one would love to see Arnold return as Mr. Freeze. That would be fantastic.
Nobody wants that.
I want that. Anyway, all right, moving on. I opened that up twice. All right, so the next story, Peacemaker season 2. Peacemaker season 2 is set to come out later this year, right? So it's coming out after Superman, And recently, Danielle Brooks, who was of course a big part of the first season, she was talking about how season 2 is, different, and she's excited about it. So she recalled that the season 1 became a big hit at a time of the pandemic, despite the fact that they barely did any press for it. I remember the trailers were coming out, but there wasn't a premiere for obvious reasons because COVID. But now that James Gunn is leading the DCU, she expects something huge for season 2 and is actually excited for the response. We know James Gunn has said that the new season is going to be like, fantastic, just much bigger in scope. It's going to be magical. He keeps using the word. So, I mean, what do you think about Danielle Brooks' comments here? She's pointing out that the first season succeeded despite there being not much marketing. And now that this is going to be a significant part of the new DCU and James Gunn has a lot more clout at Warner Brothers, of course, he leads the whole studio, DC Studios. What are your thoughts on the potential success of the new season of Peacemaker? And then do you agree with what Danielle is saying here?
Yeah, so I mean, different things, but like I don't think I don't think it's gonna, I mean, if people like it, then they like it. I don't think like it having more of an established presence is gonna, I don't think it was but was it really during the pandemic? I mean, it came out in 2022. The first one came out, that had a premiere, and that was in 2021. So maybe she's misremembering, but like maybe it's entirely possible they still didn't have a premiere for it and blah blah blah. But
I know
it
they
was
had a
2 years.
premiere for The Suicide Squad. I don't think they did it for the show because
Yeah, I don't know
it was still
why
the
they would
pandemic
for a
was still
show,
going
but
on, right? So,
whatever. I don't think that matters. I think she's just trying to state where it was like it was small, now it's big. Like James Gunn came in, he was fired from Marvel. He did the Suicide Squad, but then he just did this. They gave him a show, and we kind of just did it, and it was a lot smaller. Now he's the head honcho. He's the co-CEO, where it's a lot bigger now. So we'll see if that means anything, if it changes things. She's like, I hope it's good. I think it's good. People around us have said it's good. So we'll see. So I think she's just meaning like things have changed, but like it's not gonna affect the show poorly. I think that's all she's just trying to say.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. And on that note, we're gonna move on to the next thing. We're gonna keep the ball rolling here. We got so many more stories to get into, and not a lot of time today. But there have been unconfirmed reports, John, of an alleged recent positive screening of Superman. This comes to us from the Reddit channel for DCU Leaks, and they were saying not a comedy, but did have funny moments in it. So like people talking about the movie, also mentioning characters aren't who people think they are. Okay, I wonder what that means. Online speculation is dead wrong. Take this with a grain of salt, the Post says. What are your thoughts on this feedback? Do you think these screenings are any more real than the ones that we've talked about before? And do you take any of this feedback at face value?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking it with a grain of salt. I mean, unconfirmed reports of an alleged test screening. I'm just gonna say it's
again, this is
we've
one of those...
gone through this song and dance so many times that I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just don't get, like, how many test screenings can you possibly have for a movie? Like, what is it, like 7 at this point? Fucking 10, 12? Like,
I mean, I think
it's
Jeff
like,
Snyder
can't-
talked about 2 or 3 himself, and then of course
Yeah.
we've got everything else. I feel like this is again one of those things where, is it coming from the source? Is it coming from your mother's brother's, cousins,
former
boyfriends,
roommate,
Yeah, exactly. Like, who works as a janitor at the studio, and he overheard people talking about it walking away. Like, it's, where is this really coming from? And not that there's anything wrong with working as a janitor on the studio lot. You guys do amazing work, but like, I'm just saying, this doesn't feel like it's coming from the source. But look, everything that's positive, we hope that it's true. Everything that's negative, we hope that it's not true. That's what we want for this movie, because we all want this movie to succeed. So I agree with you, Enterprising. You can't take these rumors seriously, but the fact that they're talking about it in a positive sense, I'm okay with that. I'll take it. I don't believe it, but I'll take it. What I do believe is that James Gunn is profoundly thankful of Jason Momoa's publicist, John, because you showed the clip the other day and it was just hilarious where it's like, oh, you want to see the photo and like cinema blend? And he's like, all right, I'm going to pull this up. It's right here. And then like the publicist like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, we just all need to, like, somebody point a camera at the publicist. Because like, don't do it. It's like, oh, you got me there. Oh, you almost had it. It's like, he plays it off. He's like, oh my God, don't do it. It'll be worth the wait. And then just like, then of course, the clip made its round to James Gunn. And James Gunn is like, I am so profoundly thankful. He posted about it everywhere. He quoted the Cinema Blend video on Threads. He put it on his Instagram stories. He's just, he even like went in and like named the person. He's like, I am so thankful for you to not have revealed this. It's going to be worth the wait. So, I mean, are you surprised that James Gunn?
No, I mean, like, this guy is like, he's so good about keeping things vague, keeping things secretive. Of course, he doesn't want people to see, but it's like, just imagine Jason Momoa in like white paint, and that's essentially what it is. Like, people have done like fan stuff, like just like they're probably gonna CGI his eyes or give him contacts. Probably CGI. It's a lot easier and not as hard on like not fucking up your eyes. But like, I don't think that they're gonna, you know. I don't think they're.
He's like, I got a picture in my pocket. Wait, here's my
just
phone.
Like, it's not like, you know, come on. It's like, what can you imagine? It's not like, it's like, what's, you know, Batman gonna look like? Because it's like, it's a whole thing. Like, what's the logo gonna be? What's the like? Are they, what color scheme are they doing? How's the cape gonna look? How's the cowl? What are the It's like, there's a lot of things that go into Batman. Lobo, it's Jason Momoa. It's how he dresses normally, and she's just white now. He's just wearing white fucking paint now, and that's kind of it. So yeah, like, if you can imagine that, boom, you got him.
Yeah. It's amazing, like, seeing this play out in like live, like real time. It's great. It's great. I love it. And the Caleb is like, oh, by the way, Caleb is in the chat. Honka honka. Imagine if you leaked the Lobo look during the Minecraft movie interview. Yeah, you know, that would be. Well, I guess they can't take it back at that point. He's too big of a star. They're not gonna fire him. But like, it would certainly not be ideal. But anyway, I'm sure we're gonna get more, you know, people trying to get him to show the photo, and I'm sure his publicist will be up for it next time as well. But hey, we talked about this earlier today. One of you guys were bringing it up in the chat. I think Ron mentioned it as well. There's a major Cineplex in Thailand, and they're teasing the IMAX showing of Minecraft will include a 5-minute exclusive clip from Superman, John.
Time to go to Thailand, guys.
I mean, A, do you believe this? Because I'm going to look this up. I don't know who's making Minecraft the movie. I don't even know if that's Warner Brothers or not. Because if it's not Warner Brothers, there's no way they're dropping a 5-minute clip of a Warner Brothers movie ahead of it. Oh, it is. Okay, it is Warner Brothers. It's legendary Warner Brothers and Universal Pictures. Okay, so I guess Warner Brothers has some vested interest in this, but I personally don't believe this is going to be the case.
What's real is family.
Hell yeah. He asked us to. What, am I going to deny the fans what they want?
No, I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. But I mean, John, do you believe this is actually real? I mean,
I want it to be, because then I'm flying to Thailand. But like,
of all the yeah, unless they want us to just all fly to Thailand, because I will do that. Like, I will go see just to get 5 minutes. But then again, you know, it's interesting to me that that's something that would be just for Thailand. Like, if they're gonna do it, why not do it everywhere? Why not do it in the bigger market where you're gonna get a lot more people going and potentially?
Because they're trying to push the international market.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't make financial sense. Why Thailand of all places would you give? Like, clearly people are gonna show up. Like, this would be the bigger reason to go watch the movie than the movie itself. Let's be honest. Most people are not going to see Minecraft
Yeah,
will
they'll
go to see
buy
it
a
because
ticket to see Minecraft, see this,
Yeah.
and then leave.
Yeah,
Because that's what
exactly.
happened with fucking Wing Commander when they
Yeah.
heard the Phantom Menace trailer was gonna premiere before it. They're like, okay, we're gonna go see this movie, and then they walked out.
Yep. I mean, hey, Tony Robinson saying family means no one left behind. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Kristen's like, would you really fly to Thailand to go see it? I would very much consider it if you're being serious. And the Watcher, I think the Minecraft movie will do well. I just don't know how well. It's certainly not going to be like a big blockbuster. I do not think
No.
that's going to make like $800 million.
I mean, it's gonna get some money, but I don't think it's gonna. It'll maybe get like a little bit more than Snow White, but like not a lot. So,
By the way, Enterprising might have to hook up for us. His mom,
yeah,
his stepmom is Thai. You know what, Enterprising? We need to get to know each other a little bit better. You might be the perfect person to just get us a couple of tickets to go see this in Thailand. Well, Kristen, we're not being literal here, but like I just find it interesting and weird that they're marketing this for. I mean, for all I know, for all we know, this could just be the trailer and then like a featurette or something. So it's not actually from the movie, because I feel like the amount of stuff they've put out so far roughly amounts to 5 minutes, maybe. So maybe that's all it is. I don't know. Maybe it's just a re-edited version of that. We'll see. Hopefully, if it is true for Thailand, then maybe it's true for everywhere else as well. Now, John, there's a fan theory going around the internet about Superman, talking about this blurry figure in the reflection. So there's a part in the trailer for Superman, the trailer that's already out. We don't have the new trailer yet, but the trailer that came out in December, there's a shot here where Superman's trying to punch through glass, and he does break through it. And then you look at the reflection. I didn't catch this until this particular fan theory. Do you think that's actually David Cornsweet on the other side? Like, is that the clone of Superman, Ultraman, or is that actually just some other random dude who happens to somewhat look like David Cornsweet?
I think it's the latter. I don't think that's actually David Cornsweet, because I don't know. I think people are grasping at straws here a little bit, maybe, kind of, sort of. Yeah, like, maybe it's like just Jimmy Olsen. He's just trapped in a glass cage. Like, maybe Lex Luthor kidnapped a bunch of people, like that Superman knows, and then he's gonna force Superman to fly through rings. I'm just kidding. If you know, you know. But maybe he just kidnapped a bunch of people, and it's just some guy that like looks kind of similar, or it's like Jimmy or something. I don't know.
Because that's the person right there. You see, it's on the left.
Yeah,
side
that's Jimmy Olsen. That's clearly Jimmy Olsen. Like, look at the shoes. Look at the slacks. That's Jimmy Olsen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw this and I was like, okay, this is an interesting theory. I never quite made the connection, so I was like, it's interesting enough to maybe address it. Christian saying, I hope it's Bizarro. I don't know if we're gonna get Bizarro in this. That's a little early to dive into that. Ultraman decaying into Bizarro is my theory, says Caleb. And then they to rescue him. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It would be very interesting if they were to have not just one but two characters being played by David Cornsweet right off the bat. It would be very accurate to the comics in the sense that Bizarro Superman, I'm like, it's kind of like what they did with Superman and Lois, but I feel like it's I don't know. We don't know much about the story of this film, so it's kind of hard for me to tell if this is going too far, too fast, or if it is exactly where they need to be going. So it will just depend on, again, what the movie is about, and then hopefully we get to find that out sooner than later, because that next trailer will give us a better idea of that. Yeah, Jose is like, who else is dying to see Superman footage? Knowing this movie is coming, help me stay alive. Well, we hope there's more than just the prospect of this movie helping you stay alive. Anyway, John, moving on to our main. Okay, well, there you go. Since Hugo's in the chat, I'll let you have your moment.
Got that double stroking beard action. Hell yeah. Giving you some fluff, vivacious beard. Gotta maybe there it is. Gotta have the beard ASMR. There you go. I ain't gonna be a new guy.
Great. That's great. It's going all ASMR. Yes. The new guy on the left. Who's the new guy on the left? Is that me? Are you talking about? Okay. Chris is like, that's disturbing, bro.
Hosea, hey Google, play Careless Whisper.
Oh my god, too much stroking the goats for getting scared, says the watcher. Well, there you go.
I am the goat. Thanks, Ron.
There. Okay, well, perfect. And the story is now complete. Speaking of which, John, we had to talk about too stroking the goats for getting scared. We had to talk about something regarding this Supergirl movie. I don't know where Lenny is, but I know Lenny would have been really excited for this because we finally got our first look at Supergirl.
She's still pissed at Christopher Nolan, so she's not going to be here right now.
Well, sorry, Lenny, but hey, we had to talk about some new set photos and video. We don't just have set photos. We have an actual video that one of these. I think it's what's the name of the account? It's like Mbox HD or something. So they put this out over the weekend. Let's kind of dive into this a little bit. Going through set photos is kind of our specialty here. So you see there are some outdoor sets being built here. They're still filming out in the UK, and it looks like they've gone past the phase where they were filming pretty much everything indoors. And now, I mean, they're still on the studio lot, so this isn't like out in the public anywhere. But you can see there's some vehicles that are covered up, which feel like they might be actually for the movie itself. Then of course you have a lot of like the orange yellow trucks and like the vans, which clearly look like they're just there to move pieces around. And the blue screen walls look interesting. You've got this like set where it looks like some kind of a huge spaceship that they might, or something else of the sort where they'll be walking around on. Then when you go to this other photo, this gives you a slightly better look at it, where you've got this huge set and you can see the ground makes it look like some kind of spaceship potentially. And then maybe there's a couple of things there that make it look like they're either doors, or there might be like the console that's a viewing window out into space. You looked at these photos. What are your thoughts? Like, what are we seeing here? Like, is this the ship that Supergirl's gonna fly on? Is this one of the alien worlds? Is this some other ship? What is this? Is this?
I would imagine it's probably
Lobo?
a ship of some sort, because that's what it looks like to me. Sorry. It looks like vaguely like a ship, or like part of a ship. So that's the vibe I'm getting. I don't think it's Supergirl ship. I think it's like wherever. That's true. I think it's she probably. Oh, please don't say that. Please, for the love of God, don't fucking say that. But yeah, I'm getting the vibe of like she gets taken by a ship of some kind, and or she takes a ship to go somewhere, and that's what this is.
I mean, this is where they are filming Supergirl, so I think that's the context of this makes sense. But it's interesting because I don't know, maybe this tells us a little bit about the kind of action set pieces we're gonna get. The fact that they're doing this outside versus doing this on a soundstage tells me that this thing needs to be big enough that it can't fit in a soundstage. So that's already something that you can maybe look at and be like, huh.
I mean, look at the size. Look at the people down where that red crane is. That's how big this is. So it's not like, I mean, look at it near the car, the van. Like, look, that's how fucking huge this is.
And I bet you they're not even done working on this. I feel like there's probably
I have to give the people what they want, dude.
I'm not the one saying it.
Boy. Anyway. Oh, that was more Thin Man than The tall man, sorry, not thin man. Tall. That was more tall man than Kratos, but I'm a horror
this
guy.
is being filmed at the Leavesden Studios, I believe, right? Like this is Ron wants you for president, by the way, John. I would vote for you for president if you did run.
I mean, I'll be smarter than the current guy, so that's not saying much. But
by the way, Jose L35, hello Jose, saying I read the comic, and if it's a big ships, it's probably part where she takes the transportation ships with other aliens to travel in space. I could be wrong. Okay, so I mean, going straight out of the Woman of Tomorrow comic, it could just be something where like it could be a ship that she boards, which would be interesting. That's good insight. I haven't heard that one yet. Good insight, Jose. Caleb saying, I hope Supergirl has an annoying, pointless comic alien comedic relief that everyone hates. I don't know if you're trying to make a point there, but point taken. So the next thing I wanted to get through was there's a video out, John, of the whole set. Like somebody actually zoomed in and gave us like unboxed PhD. That account also said they have a photo of Supergirl in costume, but they haven't quite put it out yet. So I guess
how fucking convenient.
I know. All right, but like look at this though. Again, you're seeing it in motion now. You see the people walking around for scale, like you said. This isn't some tiny ship. This looks a lot bigger than even like what the Guardians of the Galaxy had. You also see in the background, Warner Brothers Leavesden is adding a lot more sound stages. We talked about it last year. They're doing a whole expansion, so it makes sense that this is.
I mean,
this is
I would imagine that this probably isn't even complete yet. They're probably going to put like plaster up walls of green screen or an AR wall up where the shipping containers are, so they could like put it up against something, and then so they can have like CGI shit like around the the ship part.
Yeah.
So
I think you're on point there. It's the fact that they have these shipping containers there feels temporary. You're definitely not going to see that in the set.
Well,
yeah. I also wonder what these little like brown things are. Like they're stacked. Are those part of the set, or is there something else to it? Clearly they're not done working on this. You can even see one of the doors is painted, the other one is not even painted yet. So but it looks interesting. I mean, this at least gives us an idea. Like this is gonna be truly a cosmic adventure. They're going to space here, and like this looks like clearly a spaceship. I just finished watching the last season of Star Trek Discovery, and you see a lot of this. Like this is what the spaceship sets look like. So, yeah. I mean, Hugo Millie's saying they did say it's gonna be massive, and so far it looks like it. They've got the budget. I mean, and then Kristen asking the question, which of these projects is truly your most anticipated? John, I mean, for me, right now, Superman is clearly the most anticipated DC project because it is obviously like. But would you say any different? Are you more excited about Supergirl, maybe?
No. If I were to say anything, it would probably be Superman. But like at the same time, I'm kind of pretty. I know that this is like not announced yet, but. Not fully announced, but I'm excited for Teen Titans, what they'll do with that. And I'm also excited for Booster Gold. Like I really want that character to be done right. And I think it sounds really cool. So yeah, I think that will be, that will be exciting. And I like that character a lot. So she takes it. Maybe we'll see Space Gabby. That would be a great
if this is a space taxi, that is one hell of a space taxi. That's a big ass space taxi. That's like a space bus, if not like a space. I don't know, like just a spaceship. Really, this thing because this just looks like it's one deck of something that's much bigger. So, yeah, it looks interesting. It looks fantastic. You could see there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. I guess it gives us a better idea of the design language of this movie, so like from a production design, but yeah, I mean beyond that there's not a whole lot else we can glean because we don't have any actors on set. This is clearly still very much in progress, so whenever we do get that,
let's hope we don't get a copyright claim for this, but we'll see.
Well, I mean the Batgirl one, I think there's precedence because they just don't want that movie to exist. They want to wipe that from our brains if they could. This, on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, the YouTube video is still up, so we'll see. Which you guys can go check this out for yourself. Unboxed PhDs. The account is right there. But I thought it was very interesting. Yeah, and then Hugo's saying, yeah, the hype will skyrocket for this, and if this is good, it is followed by Lanterns, another cosmic and Earth story. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they could really get on a winning streak from this. So Caleb praying for not getting claimed by Daddy WB. Well, we all hope so. We do all hope so. We had a run-in recently. We are being vigilant. We are praying to the gods, as it were. But John, this is not the last of it. The one thing I wanted to kind of run through by you here. Now, comicbookmovie.com doesn't always get things right, but they did have a point that I wanted to address because they might be onto something. Or maybe they're not. But like they mentioned in this article, Millie Alcock, she's got a new show on Netflix, so she's shared photos about it. But then the more interesting thing that they talked about here is that, since you're getting these recent, first looks at Supergirl, they went back and looked up how James Gunn has been talking about the movie in recent times. And then when he posted that photo of Millie Alcock from the set of Supergirl, he didn't quite write out Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. He just said, we're filming it at Warner Brothers Studios Leavesden on Supergirl. Cameras are rolling on Supergirl. And then when you look at like how all the different, trade outlets like Deadline, Variety, and everybody has talked about this, they have all been referring to it as just simply Supergirl. Now that could be because they want to just keep it short, because Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is quite a, it's a mouthful. Or do you think they're already or are in the process of dropping Woman of Tomorrow from the title? Kind of like with Superman Legacy, it became just Superman. Although that happened pretty much the first day of production, James Gunn made that clear that he just felt like this is the way they wanted to go. But do you think they'll go the same direction that, and for marketing purposes, it's simpler. It's one word as opposed to four. Do you think Woman of Tomorrow is going to be part of the title by the time the movie comes out?
I kind of hope it is, because then it distinguishes from the 1984 movie. Because yeah, sure, nobody really remembers that movie and it's not very good, but it's still like memorable enough that it's like, let's try to differentiate. Don't get me wrong, I prefer simpler titles. Like, I'm the guy that's like, make it a one-word title, make it like, if you're making a sequel, just Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, boom, 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 easy. But now that's kind of harder with a franchise. Like I remember watching a video years ago where it was like the Rocky franchise. They know where it's at. Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Boom, boom, boom.
Simple,
Roman numerals,
yep.
Perfect. Bam. You don't need to. They kind of ruined it with Rocky Balboa, but that's beside the point. But would I wouldn't be surprised if they change it, but I would like some differentiation, even though it's a loose adaptation of the comic, because they got to fit it into this narrative that James Gunn is making with this. So yeah, I think I just distinguish, because now it's like Superman with Superman coming up. It's like you got to call it James Gunn Superman or Superman 2025, because who the fuck calls the 1978 movie Superman the movie? They call it Superman. Like,
Superman.
That's
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like,
or Batman, like it's just Batman. That's why they call the new one the Batman. But that's,
well, even then they still call it Batman 89, because there's also, the show and all that shit. So they still call it like Batman 89, but like they still at the very end of the day, oh yeah, when I went to go see Batman, what are you referring to? Batman 89. So there's that. Like, oh, I went to go see Supergirl. Well, which one? The fucking 84 version or the fucking 2026 version? It's like, which one? So it's a little annoying, but it's just like it gives some differentiation, and I kind of like that. But if they change it, I'm not crying over it or anything. So, if they change it, it's understandable. Like, because look at like Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. It's like, it's fucking too long. Just call it Birds of Prey, even though it's barely a Birds of Prey movie. Should have just called it Harley Quinn, because it's a Harley Quinn movie. It's not a fucking Birds of Prey movie. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I mean, Ron's saying that the costume of the character is going to be the biggest difference. The name is going to be the same as the comic, which I understand, because the logo is going to have to match Superman's logo, right? Because they both come from Krypton. So, which I get that. Now, talking of comments from you guys, we do have a few more to bring in here. Speaking of Kristen, she or he, let us know if you're a he, she, or they. We want to get your pronouns right. But Kristen earlier asked a question. Got a question. Well, there you go. I'm curious. Who's your favorite superhero, both of you guys? For me, it's Batman. I just kind of grew up, and from a very early age, I gravitated towards that character. I've loved Superman, of course, as well. But for me, it's always been Batman. So, and then, Batman is the most popular character in DC Detective Comics, So it's kind of been reinforced, and I've always had enough Batman to read and watch and enjoy. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been Batman. But I don't know, John. Who's your favorite?
I mean, I've grown to love Superman. More recently, like now that I know the character, I fully appreciate the character more and more as time goes on. But I also love the Flash. He's it's tough because for the longest time that's what I would say to people, like, who's your favorite superhero? Oh, I like the Flash. Why? Mainly because of the show. But then once the movie came out, I can't say that anymore because then you're like, oh, you like that garbage? It's like, no, I don't. But it's a good character. Just Ezra Miller fucking ruined it for everyone else. So I can't say that anymore. But I don't know. I like Spider-Man is obviously one of my favorites, but that's Marvel. I love Daredevil. I love Moon Knight if we're going towards Marvel stuff. But in terms of DC stuff, I like Superman. I like the Flash. I like Power Girl. I think she's a really good character. She's more than just big tittied Supergirl like a lot of people claim she is. She's more than that. She's an interesting character. And I also like Jessica Cruz's Green Lantern. My favorite Green Lantern personally. I like Nightwing. There's a lot of people. I love Green Arrow, like the proper Green Arrow. So there's a lot of Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man is goated. Yeah, it's a villain, but speaking of, I love the Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol's great.
A lot of Superman and Batman in the chat. Female wise, Zatanna and Starfire for Jose. Kahneman King will destroy Animal Man, says Ron. Jose's got some ideas for who could play Power Girl. Sydney Sweeney would be a good Power Girl, I suppose.
Sydney Sweeney or Alice Eve. I think Alice Eve would be better because she's older.
Which just leans into the whole. It's not.
She's got big tits. What do you want me to fucking say? Goddamn. It's just a part of her character. Goddamn.
Caleb loves Doom Patrol, rather. Doom Patrol in the real
Matter Eater lad. Yeah. The only reason people know who he is because of Fairly Odd Parents.
Animal Man and Ambush Bug come to mind. I'm sure some of these lesser known characters will make it into the DCU. I'm sure in the new Peacemaker season we're gonna get all kinds of wacky
Swamp Thing. Yeah, Swamp Thing's a great one. Ambush Bug, the original Deadpool. A lot of people don't know that, but he pretty much was. But yeah, he's great. But yeah, a lot of great characters. I also love Martian Manhunter. He doesn't get a lot of love.
I think Martian Manhunter does not get enough. He could make for an amazing live action John Carter Star Wars-esque movie that could make $1 billion if done by the right person with the right vision.
James Cameron.
And the right budget. James Cameron will definitely turn that into $1 billion franchise.
I mean, he did it for Aquaman.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
So Tony Robinson asked earlier, I wonder what James Gunn will show at CinemaCon. I know we have talked about this at length before. And then Tony followed this up by saying, do you guys think that James will announce a Batman casting at CinemaCon? So I suppose we can combine the two questions. John, I will ask you, where are you currently sitting on what we're going to get at CinemaCon? It's coming up literally in days from now. I think we're like a week away, or less than that. So do you think we get a new trailer? Do you think we get something beyond just Superman? Are we gonna get a slate announcement, a Batman casting? I know CinemaCon isn't.
No, definitely not a casting.
So it's really what I will preface that by saying they usually focus on stuff that is coming out soon. They're not gonna give you a new surprise for a movie that might be 4 years away.
CinemaCon, they're not doing that.
Yeah, it's not for the fans. It's for the theater owners, the distributors, like the Cinema United. They used to be known as NATO, but now they're known as Cinema United. So. They rarely talk about stuff that's years away. They're going to talk about stuff that's coming out soon. So Superman feels like the most important one because that's the only movie they've got on the release schedule for this year. Maybe some Supergirl, but even that feels like it's too far away. But John, what are your thoughts? What do you think we're gonna get at CinemaCon from James Gunn and
it's
DC
it's mainly going to be Superman and Peacemaker. I don't know if that's like a cinema thing. I don't know if that.
I don't even know because that's a TV thing. I don't feel
That's a
like
TV thing, so
they
probably
need to
unlikely.
bring that in.
So it's probably
Yeah.
going to be like Superman in regards to DC, specifically Superman, and maybe Supergirl, and that's kind of it. I don't think they're going to announce that. It's a cinema. It's, as you said, it's for theaters, so I don't think they're going to do anything major in regards to stuff that's going to come out. They're probably just going to talk a lot of Superman and maybe a little Supergirl, and that's kind of it. Maybe like a fucking image, but that's probably it. But that's not. Again, it's not a comic convention, so it seems kind of superfluous to have anything when you're just focusing on this year for stuff. That's why I'm like, that's why we'll probably get. My theory is one of two things: either it's going to be on April 1st, as we know. They're gonna probably have a trailer, the next trailer for Superman during CinemaCon, and then either we get that trailer released on the internet the same day or like a day or two later, or we're going to wait till Superman Day, April 18th, and that's when we're going to get the trailer that was shown at CinemaCon. So that's my theory. I think it's going to be the latter because that's more time. So yeah, I think that works for me personally. I think that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good bet because
Alexandra Daddario for Zatanna. Let's go.
And then of course Kristen loves the idea of the Wally West Flash as well. But like what the Watcher was saying earlier, supposedly a panel and a slate with the Superman trailer, the new Superman, obviously. Here's what I will say. I think they might give us a sneak peek of the movie. If we're gonna get a 5 minutes ahead of Minecraft, that 5 minutes is first gonna get shown at CinemaCon. If we're gonna get a new trailer, that trailer most likely drops at CinemaCon. They're gonna talk about Superman. They might give us a better idea of what is coming up in the next year or 2 years for DC at the movie theater.
We have a lot of viewers right now. God damn, we have 37 views. Holy shit, you got a lot
guys,
of.
You need to hit the like button.
Enterprising is saying in the comments, fucking pump those numbers up, pump up those likes. Come on.
But by the way, the soundtrack for the movie, Caleb, we already know it's mostly done. Like especially like the main theme for Superman, they did that before the movie even started filming. So
I mean, Man of Steel Magnolias. You don't want to make Man of Steel Magnolias cry, guys. Or Antonio. You don't want to make them cry. Or Fiona. You really don't want to see Fiona cry. Come on, guys.
I cannot wait. I cannot stand for that. I cannot stand for that.
No, we can't stand for that at all.
So yeah, as far as CinemaCon goes, I don't think we're gonna get much more than maybe I don't think they have the whole movie ready to go. Like if they did, it'd be surprising. So I don't think they're gonna play the whole movie for us or for the people who are attending. They're gonna give us maybe the trailer. They're gonna give us maybe an inside look, maybe like you said, maybe like the first 5 minutes, maybe the first 15 minutes. But given that there's this rumor of like potentially a 5-minute sneak peek before Minecraft, that probably comes out at CinemaCon first. Then we get to see it for everybody else if you go to see Minecraft, which is a great incentive. Even if you walk out after just watching the first 5 minutes, you already paid them the money, so it counts. But yeah, I mean, the trailer would be fantastic. There's also Superman Day coming up, so they could still, trickle this stuff out. They don't need to give it to us all at once. So given how they've been very judicious with the marketing or like very piecemealing it, I wouldn't be surprised that there's nothing available to the public from CinemaCon outside of people just leaking stuff. Then we might have to wait for a few days to get something for real. But then again, who knows? I mean, we might be surprised and we might get a full trailer. They might play the whole movie for people, and we might start to get early reactions and inside looks and more scoopers talking about people who watched it at CinemaCon. So it's all possible. I just don't think it's very likely. So I mean, with that, John, I think that kind of wraps it up for now. But Kristen saying Megamind is my favorite superhero movie of all time. I don't know. Megamind's never quite hit me the right way. And I've tried to watch it many times, and I just never could quite sit through the whole thing. Man of Steel Magnolia, don't do it, punks. No, please do hit the like button. That it does help us out a lot. Superman Day does make sense enterprising. That's exactly. I think they can probably wait to put out a trailer for the public until Superman Day, because then they're trying to integrate the comics and everything, so people want to have a greater appreciation for not just the character in the movie, but also for the comics. You can go to the studio tour in LA and like get to see some special memorabilia. So I like the marketing.
I think there's a great question here at CinemaCon. Do we get a closer look at the Bulge at CinemaCon?
Don't tease me, John. It's don't dangle that in front of me and just let my hopes go up. You know what though? Like Enterprising saying Clayface, an announcement for Clayface might not be such a bad idea. They could bring out somebody and say, you know what, meet Clayface, because Clayface does come out within the next 18 months, so it would potentially fit.
There's the shot right there. Now I'll zoom into this.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there
Bulge, but
I'm just like,
Kirsten is not happy there's not showing much of Superman until early summer. That way we get our money's worth and they don't spoil much, but they must market it heavy. They're gonna market it heavy, trust me. We're still like 4 months away from the movie coming out, so I think this is gonna start picking up within the next month or so. It's just a matter of we've been waiting for it for so long. We talk about it 5 times a week. Time slows down for us. But for the average person, they're like, okay, it's only it's about to be April, so I think now we're getting into that territory where the marketing will start to really, really pick up. So I agree with what Watcher was saying earlier. They might give us a better idea of the theatrical slate of movies that they have confirmed. They might not go beyond a couple of years, because that's about all they have confirmed so far. And then we'll probably get some kind of look at Superman, maybe a new, featurette of some kind, of behind the scenes look with cast interviews, director interview with James Gunn. They'll probably bring some of the cast members out.
Caleb, why the fuck do you hate me so much? Like, what did I do to you?
What is Caleb doing to you now?
He's like, oh, cast John as Clayface because he's an ugly monster. And I'm like, all right.
That's just mean. That's just really mean. Well,
I have mod powers. I can ban you. Just saying.
That's true. That's true.
But I won't. I don't have an abuse of power here.
By the way,
Man of Steel Magnolia is saying having us say hi to Liz, so we'll make sure to do that.
We will say hi to Liz for you, and hopefully Liz will join us later in the week. But Ron's saying, yeah, the Bulge has to be. Dude, if Superman's in the movie, then it's all there. So the Bulge, Superman, the trailer. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of it in the coming days and weeks and months. But that brings us to the end of today's show. We'd love to stick around and get into more of your comments, but we will do that tomorrow when you come back for another episode of DCU Daily. Until then, it's time for us to sign off, and we'll see you next time. Yep. And while you're at it, while you're heading out, hit the like button if you haven't already. We will get into more behind the scenes set photos of Supergirl. If we get a new costume photo, we will dive into that. So tune in here. If you're here 5 days a week, if you're new, then we are here on DC Daily Monday through Friday. And of course, we do movie reviews as well. We've got Snow White review coming up this week. John reviewed Ash on Friday. I think we still have to review The Alto Knights. So if you're into other movies beyond DC, we are here to talk about those as well. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. And then we'll join you tomorrow for another episode of DCU Daily. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking about the official reveal of the Supergirl costume or Lobo. It'll be worth the wait, as Jason Momoa's publicist said. And much like James Gunn, we are profoundly thankful for you guys for checking us out. So, John, thank you as always. And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of DCU Daily.
Supergirl boobs. Nipples.